I think, frankly, if there's a message you should carry back to Sheriff Ahern and to GM Phillips is that, in my 7 years as a criminal prosecutor with the DA's office and the U.S. Attorney's office, I would have cleared my desk for a public corruption case like this one. I think this stinks, and I think folks ought to go get attorneys. So I hope that we can clean this up, and I hope we can do it in a very public way, and I'm hoping that we can do it in a collaborative way. But if we can't do it in a collaborative way, it will be public either way.
As one of the city's 2 representatives on the Silicon Valley Regional Interoperability Authority Board, I've had an opportunity to learn a lot about the radio interoperability projects, not only in that capacity, but also in my capacity representing the city and all large cities on the National League of Cities Public Safety and Crime Prevention Committee, which has spent a considerable amount of time on the allocation of the D block and the 700 megahertz spectrum. I have to tell you, even with all of that information that I've been receiving over a period of time, all of this came to me as almost a complete and utter surprise. To know that this type of actions were being taken in the area without the city of San Jose even knowing about most of it, without the Silicon Valley Regional Interoperability Authority Board knowing anything about it, it's unconscionable that this type of action is being taken. And I know when it first came up, Pierre Luigi, who sits on the board with me, he and I looked at each other like, what, did we both fall asleep at a meeting? How did we not know about all this stuff? And it's just simply because it wasn't told to us. I'm concerned about a lot of things, that the fact that we got this request and basically saying, drop everything you're doing and suspend all your rules and just give us this letter that says you agree, I think is unreasonable. I'm disappointed that Sheriff Ahern isn't here, because there are a lot of questions that we have, and I don't think it's an accident that he's not here, because it's a continuance of a pattern of refusing to cooperate and refusing to answer questions to the city of San Jose. And quite frankly, I'm getting fed up with that. I look at these reports, I look at what our mayor has had to do, filing Freedom of Information Act requests, Public Record Act requests, and still not getting all the information that we need, is ludicrous. What we're being asked to do is just to close our eyes and say, sure, go spend our money, let us know if it turns out. It's unacceptable. I think that this is bordering on fraud, if not actually criminally fraud. We have a grant application that we know was completed that misrepresented the authority of a group that doesn't even exist, the San Francisco Bay Area Urban Region, that someone just decided, hey, let's make up this name and start this project. It misrepresented the intent of the participants, with us being one of them, and as the mayor said, completely misrepresented his letter of intent that he wouldn't have signed had he known the facts surrounding this. It completely misrepresented the readiness of the sites, at least the sites that we know that are within our jurisdiction. I don't know about anyone else's accounting, but to me that's fraud. Just put on whatever you need on the application so you get the money. Don't worry about it, we'll fix it later. Well, I don't know about how Alameda County works or how Alameda County Sheriff's Department works, but that's not how the city of San Jose works.
I don't have too much more to add to what my colleagues said. I agree with pretty much the sentiment we've already heard. And I just think ultimately it's sad, because we did have, and hopefully there'll still be an opportunity, but we did have a really good opportunity here to create something that we definitely need, especially with the natural disaster risks that we have here in the Bay Area. There was a great opportunity to create this regional interoperability for public safety communications in a way that was transparent and above board. And I know that the Alameda County representative indicating that the goal is to assemble people interested and then determine the costs. And I don't disagree with that. Should be the way it's done, but that should have been started a year ago when this money was first allocated. There were plenty of opportunities going forward, even in March when the mayor sent a letter, and we were assured that information would be forthcoming. That could have been another opportunity to say, okay, thank you for continued support. Now let's all sit down and get together and determine how we move forward. And I think it's just a shame because we did put our trust into this, and maybe we should be more cautious in doing that next time. I think that it's kind of surprising and shocking to see other government agencies acting this way. So I don't think we could have anticipated this type of non-disclosure. But maybe we've learned through that, and we'll be more cautious next time and not take assurances when we put our name or the mayor puts his name behind something going forward. And I think it makes us look bad, and I think that's not fair to us as a city. And I think that we certainly have standards that are far beyond what we've seen through this process. And so going forward, I appreciate the staff report and agree with it, and I think we're still committed to creating this regional communication system. I think it's a good thing for us to do, and we need to do it. And I'm just hoping going forward we could do it in a way that that at least reaches our expectations and our standards.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with my colleagues that the fact that Sheriff Ahern is not here today is a huge red flag. I just can't believe that he wouldn't take this seriously enough to come down here. And the fact that the memo and the documentation strongly suggest that the process has been compromised. Some of the dollars have been spent. We don't know how many dollars have been spent. We don't know what they were spent for. Strongly suggests there is no sunshine here. We need to be honorable partners. We are trying to do so, and so I have to ask Rick Doyle and/or Chief Moore, is there enough evidence in the materials that we have before us today and the testimony to proceed with some kind of investigation? And/or do you recommend doing so?
Yes, there is, and I think we are. That's ongoing. So the short answer is yes, but as you can tell from the materials before you, there is a lot of information we don't have, and we've been, despite our efforts to get it. So absolutely, we've got to uncover all the details and then make recommendations on our next steps.
But we do have the authority to bring the individuals that we need to bring forward here to answer those questions.
Well, I think this is a legislative hearing. You've asked the individuals to appear. They've not appeared. I think at this point we should continue to try to get the information, and then we'll advise you accordingly.
All right. And I would like to say, too, that there is far too much wiggle room in the process so that liberties can be taken in relation to getting the monies distributed. And because of this, I hope somewhere along the line that we do come up with some fairly airtight rules and regs for distribution of monies. The interoperability units are critical to the safety of the Bay Area. And the fact that this is happening and all of the use of those units will be delayed is really another crime in itself. So I would agree with the proposal, and I'd like to push this forward as quickly as we possibly can. Thank you.